is Melissa with Wang and Dude Publishing, the publisher and writer, and part of my service to the community and to learn more about books in every realm is to volunteer at my local library. So today, the getting up and off the ground, I'm telling you, I've got to, I got to do yoga, I got to do something. Because those bottom shelves, especially because I shelve books mostly in children's section. Children's section's lower levels. It's just, I've tried a stool, I got to get on the floor. Anyway, just a thing. But some other observations I made today. One, I was running late. I ended up not being late, but I was running late because I was wearing flip-flops as I was driving out of my driveway. And I remembered, thank goodness, at the last minute. And anytime a thought pops in my head, sometimes I'm like, thank you to whoever sent me that message. But you can't wear flip-flops while volunteering at the library. Obvious reason, you want to protect your feet from the books that might fall on your feet. And some of these books will break your foot. So I had to run back in and get my socks and shoes. But a couple other observations today. First of all, the only book that I shelved today, again, I was in the children's section, which is, so many books. And that's usually consistently where I shelve the books. Graphic novels, juvenile, children's. But the only book that made me stop, I was shelving a book. It was a little tight, so I had to pull a book out to get it in there. And the book I pulled out was Good Dog Carl. Oh, do you remember that book? I'll put a link in the description below, but that was a book I loved as a child and that I read to Mr. Carter. And it's just, the beauty of children's books. And adult books are great. I love middle school, young adult novels, but boy, those first books that really touch your heart, whatever it is, and you could tell me what yours was in the comments below, but my God, Good Dog Carl. There was a Rottweiler. You remember? And it was, anyway, you're just going to have to check the book out. And the other observation, he was sweet. He was a good dad. Men cannot whisper in a library. So in my particular library where I shelve these books, there's a section for, the little kids in the board books and them to interact. And usually there's talking there because they're little kids, but most of the time, the mothers or the female caregivers that are with the child, whether it be a grandmother, a babysitter, a au pair, whatever it is, they usually try to, when they're reading the books, they read it at a certain level because they know they're in a library. Well, this dude, he was like your typical, and I'm in the South, if you're not in the South, Southern United States, and he had, he was had his ball cap pulled backwards, and he was a good old Southern boy. He could whisper. Again, sweet boy. He was reading to his daughter, and they were making like a little paper cupcake together. And it was very sweet. So I don't want to criticize him too much, but it startled me because I was shelving and I didn't see them at first, but I heard him, and I heard him the whole time. And so I just and I know that I don't want to be mean-spirited, but there's a stereotype for a reason, I guess, in some things, and men whispering. Yes, my brother, my father, I'm trying to, my son, I'm trying to think of all the men in my life have had to be like, can you whisper? And this dude was one of them. So anyway, but support your local library. And don't forget, one of the things that I do before I volunteered, last time I moved, books are very hard to move. They're the heaviest thing usually besides the furniture that you have to move. And I thought, as much as I love books, I'm not one who reads a book twice. So I questioned myself, why do I hold on to some of these books if I'm not going to read them again? They should be out for other people to enjoy. So I made a commitment, and I moved about 5 years ago. Was the last time I moved, and I'm like, I'm going to the library. So when I moved to my neighborhood, I immediately went and got the library card for that library, or card. It's a key fob now, or a little thing on your keychain, or an app. Like, I don't know why we say cards anymore. And anyway, so I'm like, if I want to get a book, then instead of going to the bookstore, which I still do, I still purchase books. I support both. But I'm like, if I'm not sure about a book, especially, then why don't you go to the library and check it out? And that way there's, the library is giving it to you for free to try out. And then there have been plenty of times where I've I've checked a book out of the library, and then I've liked it so much that I bought it, right? So just think, if you're not somebody that has been to the library since you were a kid, think about it in a different way and go back and support it, because they're wonderful and they have so many activities and cool things to do, and it's taxpayer dollars, and so take advantage of it. But thank you for thank you. Sorry for the guys, if you're mad at me for saying you can't whisper. And thank you so much for following the channel. I would love for you to talk about the children's books that touched your heart in the description below. You can support the channel in other ways down below. The whole purpose of the channel is I'm writing my own book and publishing it myself, and there are other videos where you can follow that. Hopefully it'll show up in this library someday. Maybe I'll shelf my own book. And so we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.